Hello, welcome to the Evo Lounge. My name is Jocelyn Chung, and I'm here for Evolution 1079. And I'm joined here today with a special guest who has had a near-death experience. This story will explore what it's like to make it through a traumatic event, how it has impacted his life, and how he persevered. Welcome.
Hey.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Rich Gartland. I live in the United States. Basically grew up in a really small town, not a whole lot going on, and just kind of making my way through life as anyone else does.
Perfect. So we're going to dive right into your near-death experience. Can you tell me about a little bit what happened or how this started?
Sure, yeah. First, wanted to apologize. Seem to be having some video problems, but whatever, we'll keep going. So, basically, I was 16 years old. You know, kids just learned how to drive, and we're all out excited, having a good time, and wasting some time before my friend's girlfriend's softball game. And as kids are known to do, we decided to do something pretty stupid. I don't know if you know what car surfing is. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. Can you tell me a little bit more about car surfing?
Yeah, so first of all, don't do it. It's it's a really bad idea. It's super dangerous. Definitely don't recommend it for anyone. But basically, it's when somebody gets on top of the vehicle. Usually, it's on the roof, especially with SUVs. There's at least like the little rails on top that you could hold on to. But that's what we were doing at first. And then after a while, we stopped, and as a joke, I got onto the hood of my friend's car, which on a Chevy Tahoe, it's an SUV, very short hood, not a lot of space for a person. And one way or another, I honestly can't remember, probably a side effect of the impact with the road. But I get onto the hood of the car, we start going, we probably got up to like 25, 30 miles per hour, which is pretty fast. Not sure how that translates to kilometers, something like 45, 50 maybe. Anyway, so basically we start going, and I feel myself losing the grip on the hood of the car, and that's kind of like when the panic sets in. And I remember, it's kind of weird to think about. I remember seeing my friend who was driving, like I'm looking into the windshield. So I remember seeing him, and I'm sure he must have seen it on my face, because there's no way I kept a straight face while this was happening. I kind of just looked at him, and I was just like, uh-oh. It's just like one of those moments where you're like, I don't know if I'm going to live. But anyway, so I lose the grip on the hood and start to go under the vehicle. And I guess this is sort of where the interesting stuff starts, where they talk about, you know, your life flashing before your eyes and stuff like that. The stuff that everyone's curious about but hopes to never find out about. It was sort of like that. Time definitely felt like it slowed down. My body moved to respond faster than I would have guessed. What ended up happening is, as I was coming down, basically if I had just come straight off of the hood, my feet would have touched the ground, and likely my legs would have just bent in half at the knee. Yeah, pretty scary stuff. So glad I avoided that. And then I kind of grabbed the grill of the car and turned my body sideways and covered this side of my head with this arm, and ended up landing on this side, rolling over once underneath, and then scraping this side up. But I don't know if you can see, actually, there's still a little bit of a scar right here on my face. And it used to go the whole way down this arm. Essentially, what they told me is it was sort of the equivalent of third-degree burn, which means pretty much no actual skin left. You're sort of down to the bottom. This part on my face used to cover about this much, but the doctor sort of stitched it up, and tooth came through my lip. You know, actually, to be honest, I got pretty lucky. Usually when you go under a 2-ton vehicle at, 30 miles per hour, you're ending up with a lot worse than what I got. And it's sort of, there's a lot of things you could attribute that to. Some people would say it's religion, others would say it's luck. But for me, it was more like, I guess, a physical response. My body was ready, for whatever reason. It just kind of gave me the probably adrenaline, made it feel like time was slowing. And I got to do all these adjustments. Now, I did have a couple of interesting thoughts cross my mind as this was happening. You know, it could be the whole life flashing thing. I don't know. I remember seeing a face and hearing the words like it's going to be okay. And whether that was just my brain going back to my mom as a kid, or, you know, some would say it's an angel. I don't know. But that's probably the most interesting part of it. But yeah, so then we had this, you know, bloody ride to the hospital. And after that, it was just kind of like all the usual after scary stuff happens, freakouts. My friends are all losing their minds. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. Definitely don't recommend it. And don't car surf. No matter how cool you might think it is, it's not worth it, I promise.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty wild that that happened. Can you tell me what was the outcome? Did you have any like long-lasting injuries or anything of that sort?
So I guess really the most noticeable after effect is I, for the first 3 days after, maybe 5 days, couldn't really leave the house because I don't know if I don't think you've ever dealt with third-degree burns that I can remember. So it's sort of a really complex thing because you have to change the bandages every day. Otherwise, they're very prone to infection. And that's really the worst part, is having to change. And of course, I was pretty much from the top of my head down to the bottom of my torso was completely covered in bandages. Had to change that every day. And that was the most painful part, actually, because you have to rip off that half grown skin. It's terrible. But yeah, also had the talent show 2 weeks later, so I had to get ready for that. And being part of 4 acts, it was crazy. But yeah, it was sort of more or less like, it gave me a lot of time for introspection, you know, to see like, how did I get here? You know, what did I do to make it here? But yeah, as far as immediate aftermath, it was just a lot of recovery. The inside edges of my two front teeth are fake too, so that's pretty cool. A little different.
How do you look at life now?
I mean, really, I think a lot of people who go through traumatic events, there's a couple different ways you can approach it. You can either let it force you into a shell, or you can kind of use it to break out of one. And that's sort of the opportunity I took. Is it was like, I could have had a pity party for myself and been like, oh no, I almost died. But instead it was just like, okay, now that I know how bad that sucks, let's go ahead and avoid doing that, but enjoy life while I still have it, you know?
Hmm. If you could tell anyone what you know now, or someone who has gone through a near-death experience, what would you tell them?
I think the most important thing is first to examine, like, is it a lifestyle choice that brought you there? Like, is there something you can change so that you don't end up in that place again? Because we only get one, you know. Once that's over, it's over. And if it's not a lifestyle thing, if it was total chance, just learn what you can from it. Maybe some people have religious experiences. Use it to find your place. Um, Use it to your advantage instead of, you know, feeling bad about how scary it is, or how close you were to losing everything. Because it's a reality, you know. We only get one.
Do you cherish life a bit more?
I would say, I mean, at this point, 10 years later, um, it it sort of does still affect me, but it's much less so. I guess at this point, it's sort of a distant memory. But when I think about it closely, yeah, it's sort of like I'm a little more risk averse, I guess, when it comes to what I do.
No more car
Especially,
surfing?
yeah, definitely have not even thought about that since. But it definitely, I guess one of the ways it manifests is when it comes to vehicles, I don't mess around. You know, there are kids who will go out, do donuts and speed down the highway. I don't do that. They were deadly enough at 30 miles per hour. I don't want to think about any faster than that. So um, I guess it has a little long lasting mental effect, but nothing that'll stop me from living life.
Um, Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Hmm.
Hope you had a good time on the Evil Lounge.
Yeah, it was great to tell a story and maybe help some people who've been struggling. I know it helps when you know someone else has been through something, and maybe a different approach you can take to deal with it is always nice. So um, that's the hope that I have for sharing my story. So
Definitely. It is a hard thing to overcome, honestly, after experiencing such a crazy event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. This was a wild experience to go through and definitely some important points to keep, whether you encountered this experience or not. This is Jocelyn Chung for Evolution 1079. Thank you for joining me today on the Evil Lounge. Until next time, take care.